Hello there. My video today is going to be more about some ideas and some inspiration rather than about particular techniques for doing innovative things on the Go press. It's what we fall onto and how we use what we end up with. So one of the things I've been exploring is foiling onto foil cardstock. So I've got some. This is the Phantom Purple Couture Creations foil on some silver cardstock, and this is done using a hot foil stamp. This is it. This is my favourite hot foil stamp. It's actually a Todo foiling plate called Chinoise Print, or Chinoise Print, not quite sure how it's pronounced. But sadly, Create and Craft don't seem to be selling it anymore. And I bought this one on eBay, but it's a lovely all over pattern hot foil plate. So when you can get plates like that, they're a great investment when you can get them. So that's the Phantom Purple on silver, and this is my favourite glittery holographic card. Couture Creations do similar foils to this as a silver sort of glittery holographic. So that's exactly the same foiling plate, and that's kind of cool, but I haven't quite decided what to do with that yet. This is some gold foil on silver card. This is silver foil on pastel pink foil card. It's kind of a soft foiling. It's not a bright shiny foil, the pink. But once the silver foil on it is on it, that's shiny. And then I've got some silver holographic, rainbow holographic foil on that one, same pink card. My glittery holographic foil again. And then this one, I've actually got two versions of this. I think one I had the pressure slightly higher than the other. This is a pale blue satin finish foil on the silver card, and then that same pale blue I've done on the pink. So those are some samples I did a week or maybe 2 weeks ago now, with the intention of making a video all about doing it, and time got away from me, but I've been experimenting some more with that today. So one of the things that has come up in conversations in Facebook groups I'm in, and I actually raised it as a thread to talk about, is how when they demonstrate the Go press on the TV, and even on the Couture Creations videos, they show you placing foil on a piece of card. They go, oh, you can foil your sentiment, or you can make a topper, but they don't actually show you the next step. So I've been working on a card today, and I thought I would show you where I am before it's put together, and then after I've shown you that, I'm going to go back through some of the cards I've made over the last few months, and just give you an update on the techniques I've used on those. And usually there are videos on how to do those techniques that I've already done. So let me show you what I've been working on today. I haven't put the card together, so it's a collection of bits at the moment. So I thought I wanted some ribbon on this card, and I tried to foil it in the same gold that I've used, but the gold didn't take on the ribbon. So that's one I just have to remember. That particular gold foil doesn't like ribbon, but luckily I've been using some pale blue foil as well, and that did like my ribbon. So that foiled really nicely. So what I've been doing is I've been using my favourite Chinoise Print hot foil plate, okay, and I've used some kind of, it's a turquoise, a greeny turquoise foil cardstock from the same set as the pink that I used here. I've actually got that in a number of colours. It was a pack I got from Create and Craft. And here's a couple of the other colours. There's a more greeny foil, and I've got some purple, and I've got other colours. You get several sheets of each in a pack. But I would say this is their pastel foil cardstock. Their satin board doesn't seem to like foil very much at all. It must something about the finish they put on that, it doesn't like it. Other satin finish cards I've tried have worked okay from other manufacturers. So I've tried some that's Crafter's Companion that works very well. So this is my piece of foiling. So I cut myself a panel of my metallic card, and then I foiled it with the gold. And what I did was let me bring my go press over. Now my go press is cold because I'm not actually planning on doing any foiling in this video. So my go press is cold. So I've put my plate on my go press, kind of like that, and then I've put foil on half my piece of card, and then I've folded one half, and then I've done another piece of foil and turned it round and foiled the other half, which means there are some joins somewhere in the middle here, but I can't really find them. And then because I wanted to do it in two colours, I've turned my plate around, so just turned it through 90 degrees. Got my other foil out. There's the gold on here, and there's a pale blue gloss foil on here. I'm not sure how good the lighting is for this. So, and then I've repeated the process, and everything's ended up in different places, and I quite like that. It gives it a real kind of depth because you've got foil over foil. So that's how I made that panel. And then yes, there's the question of, so what do I do with it now? So it was a bit longer than this when I made it, but I've only cut that much off. Okay, so then I thought, okay, so I think cream would look good against that green and with the gold. So I thought I'll make it a cream matte, and then I'm going to want some pattern papers for it. And I thought, a piece of ribbon, because if I've ended up with a join, I might want to hide it. So a piece of ribbon's always a good way of hiding a join, or another panel going in the other direction. So I've got a piece of ribbon, and then I went through my paper pads. Now I don't have expensive paper pads, they are from the range, and I pay I think it's £2.99 each for them. So I don't use expensive paper pads. So I've picked out from two different pads some papers that go together nicely, and I'm going to put the cream card as a mat for the more patterned one, and use the paler green. That's going to completely cover my card blank, and it is therefore slightly oversized because I find that best to be able to sort of line it up at one end and have it slightly oversized, and then trim the other end once it's all stuck down. So that will go like that. And then my plan is that my panel with it on its cream mat will go somewhere about there, and then my sentiment, which I've foiled onto some of the pale green card, and I've die cut from the cream a nice sort of fancy edged frame. I think that's a Sue Wilson die, but I'm really not sure. This kind of decorative oval is from a Tattered Lace die set. It was actually one of their creator card sets. It had a nesting set in this shape, so it's just the right kind of shape and size for that happy birthday hot foil plate, which I find needs much more space than you imagine it's going to. So then that will go on there. Okay, and there'll be foam pads, and that will go about that. All my ribbon is going to go kind of in there and tuck around. So it's going to be something like that. Okay, and I expect when I've uploaded the video, I'll put the card together, and that may well be the thumbnail for the video. It may not. I might use a different one. Okay. Oh yes, because I made a card with a piece of that, which is the pink with the holographic. I made a bigger piece because I really liked that version. And I die cut an oval out of it and put it in a frame, and die cut a butterfly and things. But unfortunately I can't show you the card because it's already been given to its recipient. So I might make that the thumbnail for this video. So that's one of my ideas. Now I want to go back through maybe some of the things I've covered in other videos so you can see how they turned out. So I have here, you may remember this, this is foiling I did using a resist technique, so that I showed doing the foiling, and then I showed making the messy background, and this is the card I made from all that. So I've created a panel in the centre with some die cut words on it. You know, not everything has to be foiled. Die cut flowers, lots of dimension. So that is what I did with that background piece, and then the videos are there showing the foiling and how I did the ink background, and I used Spectrum Raw sparkle pens to make that background, and the card I made it on. I'd foiled the card, and then the card was absolutely dripping wet when I was making the background, and then the foil stayed in place, and it's just, you know, it's all worked out. Oh, and lots of times when you're foiling, you get a bit of an area of your cardstock that won't take the foil, or you try to foil something and your heat's right or your pressure's right and it doesn't work. There's an area under the middle of this with some very patchy foil on it that was supposed to be some leaves, but it doesn't matter because you can't see them now. I'm giving all my secrets away here. Okay, so this is another foiled background, and this one was done just on some pattern paper. It's not card, this is pattern paper in silver foil, and this is done using embossing folder, and I will do another video on foiling with embossing folders. It's there in some past videos, but I didn't have a tripod when I made them, so they're a bit more difficult to follow. Please excuse the background noise. I think it's the sunny weather brings people who like driving fast out. So I've done the background, and then it die cut elements. Now if you look really closely, here, there's some foil missing, and the same happened on that corner. It happened consistently because this embossing folder just has the pattern down one side, so I had to do it and turn it around and do it again, and then I did get some overfoiling in the middle, and whilst I erased it, it didn't leave the paper looking pristine, so that is all hidden under those die cuts. So don't think just because your foiling isn't perfect you can't use it. You know, the equipment we've got isn't going to give us 100% professional results all the time. It's going to give us some very nice results that a crafter can use. So the other way I've tied in the silver is I've used my foiling the edge of a sentiment using the back of the die. So the cutting die that I've used for that middle plaque, that centre plaque, I've used the back of that as my foiling stamp to foil the edge of that, and there is a video, there's several videos I've done on how to do that. So there's a very good one of doing it on some cream card that didn't work very well, and then there's another one showing how it should work properly on some white card. So that's that one. This is done on coated paper actually, and again this is using an all over pattern hot foil plate for these panels, but this background one is done using an embossing folder, and again I'm going to revisit that because there's not many of these all over patterns plates about, but I'm sure people have got lots of different embossing folders, so we'll come back to that one. Okay, this one's all done up in its packet, but this rose was one of my videos, so that's the card made up, foiled sentiment, die cut lacy panel at the bottom. And the same video I said about using the butterfly hot foil stamp and colouring it in. I've just used inks and a water brush to apply the colour, and then this small one is actually layered die cuts used as a hot foil stamp and then coloured in, and the sentiment is also layered die cuts used as a hot foil stamp. Now this one, this is a tattered lace die that I've used to die cut that feather, and then I've coated it in all sorts of glitters. But I used it on the background here as a hot foil stamp to make my background. There's not a lot of foiling on this one, but it just provides extra depth in this centre here. So this centre part from this die cut, I've used the back of the die for that centre element to foil it instead of die cutting it, and then I've used the same foil and I've foiled the edge of the plaque in the centre that's got the sentiment on. This one I've foiled in the background, used some layered die cuts, butterflies, and also some die cut butterflies, so there's lots of dimension, and then just hot foiled sentiment on some plain white card and cut it out. Now this is one that I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So I've got my True Enough Print hot foil stamp in the background. Yeah. I've got this daisy is a set that Frank crafted for the Todo. So there's a flower hot foil stamp, and there's a matching die set so you can actually cut the flower out. It's on a long stem in the die set. I've cut the stems off and just tucked it in there and cut its leaves off and tucked them in there. And then round here is one of the original Todo frame sets. They're a nesting set of frames, and this one's called Butterfly Garden. So I've just foiled that onto this background piece. Now I started with this bigger, got it roughly in the middle, and then cut it to size so it was exactly in the middle. So that's how I've got round the issue of being able to position it without seeing what you're doing. And then I've cut the aperture out the centre. So that's all, and the sentiment is I foiled the edge using the back of the cutting die, and then I've just stamped. You just use the stamp, put happy birthday on it. Variation on the theme for this one. Actually, this is where the other one started. I was going to use the front, it was going to be this paper with the hummingbirds on it with the tree in the background. But when I put them together, there wasn't enough contrast, so I picked a different one for this, and then yeah, kind of mixed and matched and ended up with 2 cards. So this one, same, butterfly garden. This is a cherry blossom set. There's again a Todo hot foil stamp set, and then the edges foiled here with the back of the dies for the sentiment. I'm nearly there. This is probably the last one. So here I've used this on several cards, but I've got this die cut with its die cut butterflies, and then I've got some layered die cuts that I've used as a hot foil stamp over this side to put in the glittery ones, and then I've got a forward sentiment down the bottom. So this is how I'm bringing my foiling into my crafting. Let me move those to one side. Let me just go back to this for a minute. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to cover was, okay, so that is perfectly centered in that die cut. Okay, really nicely positioned. But I foiled it onto this piece of card. Yeah, I didn't measure or anything to try and get it in the right place. I just kind of put hot foil stamp up the top, though, put my foil over the top, put my card I thought was with the hot foil stamp in the middle, and as it turns out it wasn't, but that's the die I used. Still taped down in place, because when I cut these out I always tape the die down so it can't move while I'm trying to cut it out. And as you can see, I was nearly too close to the edge. Okay, so, but that's, you know, it's fine, it worked, and if it had been too close to the edge, then I'd have had to have done another one, and that's fine, because I have got, my papers were from a 12 by 12 pad, and I've already still got the other half of the page. So if there's a disaster, it's recoverable. Well, the other thing I will probably do is this bottom layer, I'll probably gut that so I've got a bit more of that card to use. So that's my process when I make a card, is I kind of have an idea. I might produce a piece of shiny foiling, and then I think, possibly like the rest of you, okay, what am I going to do with that? Or I have a concept in my head to start with, and sometimes I know I have a really good idea where I'm going, but sometimes there's several trials on the way to getting to that don't actually work out. So again, this is where I was going today, and I hope you've enjoyed looking back over some of the things I've made. I'm going to be working on, let's say, videos for foiling using embossing folders, some more demonstrations and videos using foil on foil technique, and I'm going to be working on a video on how to get things so when you hot foil them, you know where they're going to come out. So when you want to do a piece like this, it's either a card front or it's going to be a topper on a larger card, and you want to make sure everything is sort of in the middle and lined up so that you can actually do that without actually having to tape things to the card. Now, I often tape things to the card, but you do have to be really careful where you put your tape, because quite often those are the places that the foil won't adhere to afterwards. So this technique I've devised doesn't need you to actually tape things down. So I'll do that as a separate video, but that's what's coming. Okay, thanks for watching.